It happened on a quiet Saturday evening. The smell of roasted chicken filled the air, candles flickered across the dining table, and laughter floated around like the echo of a happy family. Except I wasn't laughing. I was sitting there, forcing a smile, feeling smaller with every passing second. My mother's voice sliced through the air, sharp and cold. "You're a freeloader, Emma," she said. The word landed like a slap. Everyone at the table froze. My father, my sister, my brother, all pretending not to look at me, but secretly enjoying the moment. Hook, if only they knew. If only they knew what I had been building in silence, behind their backs, with the fire they lit inside me every single day. Before we begin, don't forget to hit subscribe to stay with me till the end, because this story will make you question what family really means. I looked at my mother across the table. Diane had always been the queen of this house, elegant, commanding, cruel in ways that didn't leave bruises. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "You've been home for months, Emma. No job, no contribution, nothing. Do you think life is a charity?" My father, George, coughed awkwardly, cutting the chicken like it was a distraction. "Let's not do this at dinner," he muttered. My sister Chloe smirked and took a sip of wine. "Mom's right, though. Some people are just allergic to responsibility." And then came my brother, Ethan, the golden boy, the one who never failed to rub salt on wounds. "Come on, Em. You can't expect Mom and Dad to feed you forever. You're what, 25 now? Maybe it's time to stop playing artist and get a real job." My jaw clenched. "Design is a real job," I said quietly. Chloe rolled her eyes. "Sure it is, and unicorns are real too." The laughter that followed felt like knives under my skin, but I didn't respond. I just sat there, staring at the tablecloth, my fingers trembling under the table. Because they didn't know that 3 weeks ago, I had received an email, the kind that changes your life. A buyer from a top fashion chain had seen my sketches on a small design blog. She loved my line Urban Ghosts. She called it hauntingly original. I had been in quiet negotiations since then, signing NDAs, sending prototypes, and preparing for something massive. I was about to close a deal that could change everything, but I wanted it to be perfect before I told anyone. Now sitting there being called a freeloader, I realized maybe I didn't want to tell them at all. "Emma," my mother snapped, "are you even listening?" I nodded slowly, hiding the storm building inside me. "Yes, Mom," loud and clear. Dinner ended in icy silence. Everyone left the table except me. I sat there staring at my untouched plate, the taste of humiliation still sharp in my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them everything, that my designs were being reviewed for a multi-million-dollar launch, that I was about to fly to Miami to meet with a fashion executive. But then I thought, no. Let them think I'm nothing. Let them see later. Later that night, in my small room at the end of the hallway, the one they always called the storage room, I sat on the floor with my sketch pad open. My hands moved fast, almost trembling as I drew. The curves of fabric, the tension of lines, it was my language, my heartbeat. Every insult, every mocking laugh turned into strokes of graphite. I designed with fury, and I designed with love. When my laptop dinged, I froze. A new email. Subject: "Congratulations, Miami Fashion Expo invitation confirmed." My chest tightened. I read it twice, then 3 times. The message was official. My line had been selected for the main showcase at the Miami Fashion Expo. The event would be broadcast online, with top investors, brand representatives, and buyers attending. It was real. I laughed out loud, tears blurring my eyes. Then I covered my mouth, afraid someone might hear me. My mother hated when I made noise. I pressed my forehead against the cold wall and whispered, "You'll see me now. You all will." The next morning, breakfast was another round of passive-aggressive comments. "So," Chloe said, flipping her hair, "any job interviews this week? Or are you still waiting for inspiration to strike?" I looked up from my toast. "Actually, I'll be traveling soon." Ethan snorted. "Traveling where, Fantasel?" "And to Miami," I said simply. That shut them up for a second. My mother raised an eyebrow. "Miami, for what? Just an event?" I said, keeping my tone casual. "A design showcase." Her lips curled. "Showcase? Emma, stop embarrassing yourself. Those things are scams. You'll waste what little money you have." I smiled faintly. "Don't worry, it's all taken care of." They exchanged glances. They didn't believe me, but I didn't care. For the first time in my life, their disbelief felt like fuel, not failure. The next week was chaos in the best way. I packed my portfolio, booked a small hotel near the convention center, and caught a flight to Miami. The city's warmth hit me like a welcome hug. I walked through palm-lined streets, clutching my sketchbook, feeling alive for the first time in years. Inside the Miami Fashion Expo, everything shimmered. Models glided across white runways. Cameras flashed, and there I was, the freeloader. the burden, standing behind a display booth labeled E. Stone Designs. I had changed my name for the brand. Emma Stone, simple, strong, anonymous. When the judges passed by, I smiled, confident but shaking inside. My collection, Urban Ghosts, was raw, minimal, but hauntingly beautiful. Layered silks, asymmetric cuts, muted tones. It told my story without words. When one of the executives, a tall woman in a red blazer, stopped and asked, "Did you design these yourself?" I nodded. Her eyes lit up. "These are extraordinary. We'll be in touch." 2 days later, my phone rang. The Nordstrom deal was real. 7 figures, exclusive partnership. I sat on my hotel bed, shaking, staring at the ceiling. It didn't feel real, but it was. I wanted to call anyone to share it. But who? My mother. She'd find a way to make it about herself. My father, he'd say I got lucky. My siblings, they'd mock me or pretend to be happy, so I didn't call anyone. I just whispered to myself, "You did it." When I returned home a week later, I walked through the door with my luggage, wearing sunglasses, holding a quiet smile. Mom didn't even look up from her phone. "Back so soon, I told you it wouldn't last." I smiled again. "You were right, Mom. It didn't last. It changed." She frowned. "What does that mean?" I just walked past her, heading straight to my room. That night, I posted a photo, nothing revealing. Just a picture of the Miami skyline with the caption, "Dreams don't need permission." By morning, it had gone viral. Fashion blogs picked it up. Someone leaked the news of my deal. My name, my brand was trending. When I came downstairs for coffee, my family was gathered around the TV. My mother's hand trembled as she turned to look at me. "Emma, what is this?" On the screen, a reporter said, "Miami's newest design prodigy, Emma Stone, has signed an exclusive multimillion-dollar contract with Nordstrom following a stunning debut at the Fashion Expo." My sister's jaw dropped. My brother's smirk vanished. I just took a slow sip of my coffee and said, "Guess freeloaders can work too." The silence that followed was beautiful. That evening, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Calls from investors, messages from people who had ignored me for years. Even my family tried to join in the celebration. "I always knew you had potential," Mom said. I smiled without looking at her. "No, you didn't." My father tried to sound supportive. "We just wanted what's best for you, Emma." "I know," I said softly. "And now I'm doing what's best for me." That night, I went out for dinner alone. I ordered the most expensive meal on the menu, not because I wanted to brag, but because I finally could. I stared out the window at the glowing city and thought, this is just the beginning. The next few weeks were a blur, flashing lights, endless interviews, photo shoots, and emails from people who used to ignore me. My designs were suddenly everywhere. Billboards, online stores, even magazines that once rejected me now wanted exclusive features. Every morning I woke up in disbelief. The same girl who once ate cold cereal in her cramped bedroom was now being styled by professionals and flown to New York for events. But with success came something darker. My family's silence. At first, I thought it was pride, maybe confusion. But when my mother's texts became rare and my sister stopped commenting on my posts, I realized it wasn't confusion. It was envy, cold and poisonous. One night, as I sat on my apartment balcony overlooking downtown Miami, my phone buzzed. A message from Chloe. "You've really changed, Emma. Don't forget who raised you." I stared at the screen, then typed back, "I haven't forgotten. I just stopped apologizing for existing." I didn't send it. I deleted it instead. I knew she'd twist my words somehow. The next morning, my agent, Nicole, called. "Emma, Nordstrom wants you at the upcoming Miami Fashion Expo Gala. They're honoring new designers who have made an impact this year. You're getting the spotlight segment." I froze. "You mean on stage, front and center?" She said with a grin I could hear through the phone. "You deserve this. Oh, and there's talk about a broadcast partnership. So yes, the whole country might see it." I laughed nervously. "Wow, okay, I'll be ready." But I wasn't ready for what else the night would bring. The gala night came fast. The venue glittered with chandeliers and the scent of expensive perfume. Photographers lined the entrance. I stepped out of my black car in a sleek silver gown, one of my own designs, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. "Emma, over here." Emma Stone, smile for Vogue. The flashes blinded me, but I smiled through it. Inside, music hummed and glasses clinked. Nicole guided me through a sea of faces, investors, celebrities, influencers. I felt like I had stepped into someone else's life. Halfway through the event, I heard my name. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host announced, "please welcome the visionary designer who transformed modern street couture into art, the one and only Emma Stone." Applause erupted. My chest tightened as I walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding, but the sound of hundreds of people cheering drowned out the ghosts of my past. I gave my speech short, honest, trembling but strong. When people doubt you, I said, voice steady, let their disbelief be your fuel. I was told my dreams were useless, but passion has a louder voice than doubt. The crowd stood. Applause rolled like thunder. It was the moment I had dreamed of. But as I stepped off the stage, I froze, because standing at the back of the room uninvited was my family. My mother's eyes were cold as marble. My father looked stiff in a borrowed suit. Chloe and Ethan stood behind them, awkward and unreadable. Emma, Mom said softly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You are amazing. We're so proud of you. My throat tightened. How did you even get in? Connections. Chloe said, you're not the only one who knows people. Nicole appeared beside me, whispering, everything okay? I nodded slightly, yeah, just. Family. Mom reached for my arm. We wanted to surprise you. You've come so far, honey. Maybe we can all have dinner tomorrow. Catch up. Her tone was sweet, too sweet. The kind of sweetness that comes before venom. Sure, I said calmly. Tomorrow's fine. But I knew something was off. The next day, I met them at a fancy restaurant overlooking the bay. The same people who once mocked me for ordering cheap coffee were now sipping champagne like royalty. Mom smiled across the table. So, tell us everything. How much are you really making from this deal? I blinked. Excuse me. Oh, don't be shy. Ethan said, we're family. We just want to know how successful our little sister really is. Little sister, I repeated. Funny, you didn't see me as family a few months ago. Dad cleared his throat. Emma, don't make this dramatic. Your mother just asked a simple question. I leaned back, crossing my arms. No, she didn't. She asked about money, and for the record, my finances are none of your business. Chloe scoffed. Wow, fame really went to your head. No, I said quietly. Respect did. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Mom's smile vanished. You think you're better than us now, don't you? I met her gaze. No, Mom. I think I finally understand that I never needed your approval to be enough. She slammed her glass down. Ungrateful girl. After all we did for you. After all you said to me. I cut in. After calling me a freeloader, a failure, a disappointment. You don't get to rewrite history now that it's convenient. Her cheeks flushed red. My siblings looked away. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and said calmly, dinner's on me. Consider it my thank you for the motivation. And then I left. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. I opened Twitter and froze. A post from Chloe. A picture of me at the gala. Caption. Funny how fame makes people forget their family. Below it, hundreds of comments. Some supportive, most judgmental. Another post this time from Ethan. When success blinds you, you stop seeing who helped you climb. My stomach churned. They were turning people against me. By the afternoon, my name was trending again this time for all the wrong reasons. Emma Stone's family exposes her arrogance. Designer disowns her parents. Fashion fame turns daughter cold. I called Chloe, straight to voicemail. I called Mom, no answer. Then I got a text from an unknown number. You can't hide behind your fame forever, Emma. The truth always comes out. My hands shook. They wanted revenge. That evening, Nicole came to see me. Emma, we need to talk, she said, setting her tablet on the table. Your family's interviews are spreading. They're painting you as cruel, selfish, ungrateful. It's hurting your brand. I swallowed hard. What do I do? Nothing yet, she said gently. Let it pass. People will forget. But people didn't forget. The story grew. Within days, reporters camped outside my apartment. I couldn't leave without flashing cameras in my face. Emma, is it true you abandoned your parents? Did you fake your humble background? I stayed inside, curtains closed, hands trembling. It was like the walls were closing in again, the same feeling I had at home. Trapped, accused, voiceless. Until one night I snapped. I opened my laptop, went live on Instagram. My heart pounded. Thousands joined within seconds. Hi, I began, voice calm but breaking. I've been quiet for a while because I believed silence was stronger than anger, but sometimes silence lets lies grow. I took a deep breath. Yes, I come from a family who didn't believe in me. Yes, I was called a freeloader, a dreamer, useless. I didn't hate them for it. I just worked harder. I don't owe anyone my success, only my own persistence. I paused. I love them, I really do. But love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. It means knowing when to walk away. The comments flooded in thousands of hearts, supportive messages, people sharing their own stories. By morning, the tide had turned. #stand with Emma was trending. People defended me. Journalists apologized. My family's truth collapsed. but instead of feeling victory, I felt grief, because I realized there was no going back. A week later, Mom called, for the first time in months. Her voice was small, shaky. "Emma, we didn't mean for it to go that far. We were hurt. We just wanted you back." Tears burned my eyes. "You didn't want me back, Mom. You wanted control. Can we just start over?" she asked. I hesitated, then whispered, "I don't think we can." I hung up before I could change my mind. That night, I stood on my balcony again, watching the city lights dance below. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of salt and rain. I thought of my old self, the girl sitting at that dinner table, being called useless. I smiled sadly. She was gone now, but part of me wished she could see this view. 2 months later, the Miami Fashion Awards arrived, the biggest night of the year. I was nominated for Designer of the Year. Nicole told me not to get my hopes up, but deep down, I knew this was my moment. When they called my name, I froze. Emma Stone. The crowd rose. Applause thundered. I walked to the stage, tears already spilling. "This," I said into the microphone, voice shaking, "is for everyone who's ever been told they're not enough. For every dreamer who was laughed at. Don't wait for permission. Don't beg for love that only hurts you. Build your own light." The audience cheered. I felt alive, and in the crowd, just for a second, I thought I saw her, my mother. She stood near the exit, watching, eyes wet. Then she turned and disappeared. Later that night, I went home to my new apartment, walls covered in sketches, awards on the shelf, and silence that felt peaceful instead of lonely. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Proud of you, always have been." No name, but I knew who it was. I didn't reply. Some words are better left floating in the dark. It had been almost a year since that dinner, the night my mother called me a freeloader. A year since the woman who gave me life tried to strip me of it with words sharper than any blade. And now, as I stood backstage at a Paris fashion show surrounded by lights, chatter, and camera flashes, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't angry anymore. The rage that had driven me all this way had burned out, leaving only quiet determination. I wasn't fighting them anymore. I was building myself. The show was minutes away from starting. Models lined up, assistants rushed around adjusting hems, photographers snapped photos like lightning. I glanced in the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't the timid girl who once sat in silence. She was confident, calm, and a little haunted. Nicole appeared beside me, her headset slightly crooked. "You ready, as I'll ever be," I said, smiling. She squeezed my shoulder. "You've come a long way, Emma. You deserve all of this, do I?" I whispered. She frowned. "Of course you do. Don't start doubting now." I nodded, but inside, something felt heavy. Because success hadn't healed everything, it had only revealed what was broken. When the first model stepped onto the runway, the crowd fell silent. My new collection, Ashes and Silk, was darker than anything I'd done before, deep blacks, shadowy grays, with streaks of burning red. It told my story in fabric, destruction and rebirth. As the music swelled, I watched from the side, my heart pounding. Each piece felt like a memory walking past me, the humiliation, the fire, the silence, and finally the light. When the final look appeared, a sheer gown embroidered with silver threads that caught every glimmer of light, the audience erupted. Cameras flashed, applause roared, and I felt the tears come before I could stop them. The announcer's voice echoed, "Ladies and gentlemen, the visionary designer Emma Stone." I stepped onto the runway, my heels echoing against the glass floor. For a moment, everything blurred: faces, lights, sound. It felt like walking through a dream. When the show ended, I bowed, smiling, trembling, and then I saw her, at the edge of the crowd, sitting quietly in the second row, my mother. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older, her hair was streaked with gray, her hands clasped tightly together. When our eyes met, she smiled a fragile, almost guilty smile. After the show, she waited near the exit. Nicole caught my glance. "You don't have to talk to her if you don't want to." "I know," I said softly, "but I think I need to." I walked over slowly. My mother looked up, her eyes glistening. "Hi, Mom. Emma." Her voice cracked. "You were incredible, thank you." She hesitated. "Can we talk just for a minute?" I nodded. We stepped out into the quiet alley behind the venue. The night air was cool and smelled faintly of rain. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she sighed. "I've watched every show you've done, every interview. I didn't know how to reach you. You blocked our numbers. I had to." I said gently, "I needed peace." "I understand." She nodded, looking down. "You have no reason to forgive me. I was cruel. I was jealous. I didn't want to admit that my daughter could become something I never was." Her voice trembled, "But watching you now, I see I was wrong." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I didn't speak. She stepped closer. I lost your father. He had a stroke last month. He's recovering, but it shook me, made me realize how fragile time is. I don't want to die with this between us. The words hit me like a wave. Dad, is he okay? He's stable, she said softly. He keeps asking about you, about when he'll see you again. I exhaled slowly. Mom, you hurt me deeply, but I don't hate you. I just can't go back to what we were. I don't want the past back, she said. I just want a chance to do better. The silence between us stretched, heavy but honest. Finally, I said, maybe someday, but not now. I'm still healing. She nodded slowly, tears spilling. That's fair. I'll wait. I'll always wait. As she turned to leave, she paused and looked back at me. I am proud of you, Emma, truly. I smiled faintly. That means more than you know. And then she walked away into the night, into forgiveness I wasn't ready to give, but maybe someday would. That night, I sat by the hotel window, staring at the Paris skyline. The city glowed with promise and loneliness. My phone buzzed a message from Nicole. You did it. Paris loved you. The reviews are insane. I smiled. For once, I didn't need to check the internet to know who I was. I opened my sketchbook and wrote one line across a blank page. Peace is louder than revenge. And for the first time, I meant it. Weeks turned into months. My brand expanded. A studio in Paris. A partnership in Milan. A mentorship program for young designers who couldn't afford art school, something I created because I knew what it felt like to dream without support. Every day felt full yet quiet. I worked, I designed, I breathed. But sometimes late at night I'd think about my family, about the house I grew up in, about my father sitting at the table reading the newspaper, my mother's perfume drifting through the hallway, Chloe laughing at her own jokes, Ethan tapping his pen on the counter. They were all ghosts now, not dead, but distant. Until one afternoon, I received an invitation. A small cream envelope with golden edges. Family dinner Sunday evening, home. My first instinct was to throw it away. But something in me hesitated. Maybe I needed closure, not to reconcile, but to end the story properly. The old house hadn't changed much. Same red bricks, same creaking porch, same faint smell of lavender and dust. My father was waiting at the door, leaning on a cane, his face pale but smiling. Emma, Dad. He hugged me weakly, gently, like he was afraid I'd vanish. You look beautiful, he said. So do you. I lied because I wanted to see him smile. Inside, the table was set just like old times. Mom had cooked roast chicken, the same meal from that awful night. For a moment, I almost laughed at the irony. Chloe and Ethan were there too. Older, quieter, awkward. Hey, Chloe said, eyes downcast. You look amazing. Thanks. Ethan spoke next, his voice soft. We messed up, all of us. I nodded. Yeah, you did. He winced. I deserved that. Mom served the food in silence. The air was thick with old memories, but it wasn't hostile anymore. Just fragile. Halfway through dinner, Dad raised his glass to family. He said, flawed but learning. We all raised our glasses hesitantly. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger sitting at that table. I felt distance, peaceful, necessary distance. After dinner, as I was leaving, Mom stopped me at the door. I know this doesn't fix anything, she said softly. But I'm glad you came. So am I said. Good night, Mom. Outside, the air was cold and fresh. I stood by my car, looking back at the house. It was smaller than I remembered, almost tender in the way old things can be. I didn't feel hatred anymore, just gratitude for what it taught me and for what I'd become despite it. As I drove away, I whispered goodbye, and this time it didn't hurt. Months later, at the annual Fashion World Awards in London, I received the Lifetime Inspiration Award, the youngest designer to ever win it. When I stepped onto the stage, I didn't bring a speech. I spoke from my heart. I used to think success was about proving people wrong. Now I know it's about proving yourself right. I don't stand here because of revenge. I stand here because I learned to forgive them and myself. The crowd stood clapping. Flashes lit the room like stars. As I looked out into the crowd, I thought about the girl who once sat at that dinner table, silent under her mother's scorn. She was still inside me, but stronger, freer. And for a second, I felt her smile. After the ceremony, I walked out into the cool London night. The city lights shimmered on the Thames. Nicole joined me, holding 2 cups of coffee. You okay? Yeah, I said softly. I'm more than okay, she grinned. So what's next for Emma Stone? I looked out at the horizon, endless, glowing, alive. Whatever comes next, I said, it'll be mine. She raised her cup to new beginnings. I clinked my cup against hers. To peace. And as the first raindrops fell, I smiled. Because I finally understood something. I'd spent my whole life chasing success isn't revenge. It's freedom.